Hi, everyone. Welcome to Consider the Lilies podcast. I'm Megan Fevier.
And I'm Brooklyn Whitmer.
Tune in to the latest episode of the podcast.
Available on all streaming platforms.
So, Alexandra, we're so excited to have you on the podcast. And you are just a dynamic, award-winning filmmaker, writer, producer, and actress. You have been trailblazing through Hollywood for nearly 2 decades, which is amazing. But you were born and raised in Massachusetts. You're known for your fearless pursuit of meaningful content, which is so great. In addition to all your numerous acting credits, you are the co-creator of the Boylan Sisters production company. You're a successful film studio that focuses on faith-based, family-friendly content. And the first feature-length film, Catching Faith, streamed on Netflix for 2 years. Congratulations. And that has spawned to a sequel, as well as paved the way for other critically acclaimed movies, such as The Greatest Inheritance and Switched. Your latest venture, Identity Crisis, also serves as the basis for a novel, which you are co-authoring with your sister and business partner, Andrea. You have previously published the widely regarded how-to guide entitled Create Your Own Career in Hollywood. Yes. Aww. And advice from a struggling actress who became a successful producer. So exciting. We're so pumped to have you on. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, we are super excited. We are just like, we got so many questions for you. And the first one we want to ask is, okay, so the podcast itself is called Consider the Lilies, mainly because we love how God looks at the whole picture of life. So where have you seen God consider the little and small things in your story lately?
How do I see God in the little
and small things in your story lately? Yeah. So something that you may have noticed. Yeah. Could be anything.
God's in everything. And
come on.
Yeah.
I love Consider the Lilies because I love God's timing. God's timing is perfect. We've seen that in our career. You know, Andrea and I started making these movies 10 years ago, and I've been in LA for 24 years. So it's been incredible this past 10 years to see God's timing, how it's perfect. When we can't see it, we don't understand. It's like a couple years later, I'm like, oh, now I get it. But I feel like God is in everything and always introducing us to the right people. That's like lately. And I just went to Europe for a month, and I actually took kind of the month off. And I was like, you know, originally I was going to go there and write. And then I was like, no, I'm going to go and I'm just going to pray and spend a month just praying, resurrendering my life to the Lord, always resurrendering my life, because you sometimes get wrapped up in everything you're doing. And I'm like, wait a minute, is this your will, God, or my will? And I always want to check back and be like, am I seeking the kingdom of heaven first and foremost? So I just spent a month in Europe, which was amazing, just praying, refreshing, resetting, and saying, okay, God, what's next?
I love that. I think sometimes we need that time to it's like a recharge, a restful time. And it just, it's a good way to just plug in and be like, God, what do you have for me right now? And that's cool that you said that, because I think for me, we've been talking about this, I know for my personal journey, I've been in that moment of being still before the Lord, allowing him to just speak over my life. And because we get busy, there's so much stuff going on. There's a lot of career moves we want to make because, hey girl, got some stuff going on.
Gotta go.
But it's just good to recharge and just be like, okay, God, what do you have for me right now? And what do you want me to just learn from you? And just cherish that time. So that's cool that you got to go to Europe and experience that. That's amazing.
It was amazing. Well, it's because my husband is the first assistant director on Interview with the Vampire season 2. So he's in Prague for 7 months.
Wow.
And I had some time off, and I was like, I'll just come for a month. And like I said, I was like, I've been, muscling through what's next. And then I decided to just take that time to be like, no, just pray. Be like, God, what do you want? It's important to do that.
It is. For sure.
I love that. Hi friends, just wanted to drop in and let you know that this video is sponsored by a ministry called Faithful Counseling. Faithful Counseling offers counseling for mental health from a biblical perspective. To get 10% off of your first month of therapy, go to my link, faithfulcounseling.com/thisdayministries. Now, what inspired you to get into filmmaking for this generation?
Oh my gosh. I have such a heart for teen girls. I'm a minister's kid. My sister and I grew up in a minister's home. And, 2011, we felt called to make faith-based films, and we really didn't see women being represented. In 2011, there was like no women, female leads in faith-based films. I got the opportunity to make Catching Faith, and it had to have football. That was a requirement from the sales agent and the executive producer. And my sister and I talked, and we were like, well, we need to make it about a woman, because nobody's making movies about a woman for the faith audience yet. That's the buyers. So I went back to my sales agent. I said, I'll do football, but it's going to star a woman. And he was like, oh no.
Yes.
But he said, no, you can't do that. There's no numbers in the market to back up a female-driven faith-based film. And I was like, right, because nobody's doing it. But if we do it and prove there's an audience, let's be the trailblazers. And that's kind of the story of my entire career. Of every movie is trailblazing and proving there's an audience, even if no one's done it yet. And we were able to make Catching Faith starring a woman, and it went on to become the top 5 consistent selling movie for the distribution company. They requested a sequel. We went to Cuba on a movie tour. It's been seen all over the world, and we get so many messages from women's lives being changed. And we were like, okay, we need to speak to the women. And then Switched came about because we really saw a need and a lack of teen girl movies that were hip and cool for young girls to show at slumber parties, to have something positive, but also was cool. Because, in faith-based, we don't want the kids to watch it because their parents say to watch it. And they're like, I don't want my friends to know I'm watching this movie. And I know I grew up with that, with things my parents made me watch. And I was like, can't I watch Dirty Dancing? And they're like, no. So it's really like wanting which is Mean Girls meets Freaky Friday for Christian girls. And it's hip and fun. And we want them to show it at summer parties and be proud of it. And we really, I took this movie out for a year and got rejected by every studio, every person. And no one really understood it. Faith-based was like, wait, girls switching bodies? And then mainstream was like, yeah, we love it. We want to make it raunchy. So I was like, no. And so I was able to raise private investment and make it exactly the way we wanted to make it and sell it. And it went on to become like the top movie for PureFlix. And it did so well. And it's really going to hopefully pave the way for more teen girl content that's clean. So I care so much about my audience. And I'm so discouraged and upset at the content getting worse and worse, and the messaging to young girls, and what Hollywood and mainstream is trying to do to young girls is killing my heart. And I cannot sit back. So I'm trying to combat that with my entertainment and create things that leave a empowering, impactful, inspirational message to young girls.
And to go off of that, I was watching, I think I told you about this, Brooklyn, but I was watching a show on Netflix because, you come home, like you turn on the TV. And I was watching this show on Netflix the other week, and I just sat back and my heart broke because within the first 5 minutes, it came into a broken family. And right away, the teenage girl that was probably 15 or 16 years old was doing self-harm. And I just turned on this show. Like, I knew none of the context. But I'm like, we're talking about self-harm, a broken family. The mom is lost in, all, drugs and alcohol. And I turned it off right away because I'm like, this is just so sad. Like, this is what we're showcasing to families. Like, there's no togetherness. Like, the family unit is broken. You're showcasing self-harm on a show, something that is already so prevalent in culture. So I just think, props to you for wanting to get out there and showcase clean media to a new generation.
Yeah. And this Switched, I really enjoyed it. I have to say, I really thought it had all the elements of what I was looking for in a movie that I would want to see with somebody else, hey, this is going to be a fun girl movie. Yeah. We need to hang out and watch this. That's the kind of thing I want to see as well, I think.
Well, and I always say, you can reflect a broken culture, or you can create a culture that leads with love. And we have the ability in entertainment. Yes, we can show everything that's wrong, or we can show how it should be, how we could live. And that's like what I want to do. I want to show, we were making Switch, around the time that 13 Reasons Why came out. And I was so like, wait a minute, 13 Reasons Why is glorifying bullying. It's glorifying revenge. We need to not do that. We need to like show bullying in a way that's like, no, you don't know what it feels like to walk a day in that person's shoes. We need to love more. We need to imagine what it's like. And I was just so upset that we were getting rejected at a time that 13 Reasons Why is going out there and actually causing copycat suicides and all this horrible stuff. And I'm like, yeah, nobody wants to pick up the movie that's actually talking about anti-bullying in a positive way of like, how can we love your neighbor as yourself,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's wild that would have been around that time, because that was a very
right
interesting, yeah, that's a very interesting time with like media, like how much that was like shown all over, even like our media pages, like, oh, this series. And I think it's sad like that, that we have like that kind of market in that way. So I'm really excited like that you are pulling into like, hey guys, there's more out there. There's more inspiring content we can make that still like has that trendy, awesome, fun like style. And that's
It's
like
so
the
good.
best. Like I'm excited. I get excited to even hear about just all the things that you're doing. So another question that we have is, the consumption of media in our culture today is so high. What young people are consuming is an all-time high. So how do you go about evaluating if the media you're consuming is positive and uplifting for your mind and spirit?
That is such a good question, because one of the best things I watched was The Social Dilemma. It's on Netflix. It's a documentary. Have you guys heard of it?
I have. I haven't watched it yet, but I've heard a lot about it.
It really helped me understand, like I went through a time where I was probably really addicted to Instagram and Facebook and getting caught up in it, but didn't really know how to stop it. And then I watched that documentary, and it really helped me understand what it was doing to my brain and why I couldn't get off of it. And then because I watched that documentary, it kind of teaches you how to stop. So if you're just scrolling, like you're at a Vegas slot machine and you just scrolling, I'll immediately ask myself, what am I looking for right now? And I'll put it right away, because it's like addicting. And they're also, feeding you what you think you want. So that really helped me. I don't watch as much TV as I probably should as a filmmaker. I'm really into reading books. I read all the time. I puzzle. I have a puzzle going right now. I also think I just don't like anything. Like I go to turn things on and I'm not interested in there. I mean, I love Ted Lasso, of course. And I still watch reruns of Friends, but like, I don't know. I don't watch a ton of stuff, and I try to be really careful about my social media time. I stay off social media. I really use it to post about our films or what we're doing. I don't even really use it for personal stuff very much. It's mostly like, buy my movie, see this movie, or watch this podcast. Because I do think that what we watch is so important to what our brain is. And I will watch things for educational purposes. Like I watched Euphoria. I watched 3 episodes. That's enough for me for the rest of my life. But I watched it because I want to be educated when I'm going into a meeting or a studio meeting or with investors. I have to say that I know that I've seen the thing that I am saying, this is bad and we have to change culture. So I watched Euphoria and I was like, it made me so sick. It just fueled even more of a fire under me to be like, we have to make better content for young people, because they say that Euphoria is for adults, but yet 14-year-olds are watching that and it's going to destroy young girls. And I'm so angry about that. And I'm so angry that we continue to create narratives that all a girl is if the boy in high school likes her. And that's like everything Netflix put out, all the boys I've ever loved, The Kissing Booth, The Year I Turned Pretty. It's like all about the girl getting the boy. And I'm like, aren't we in the year 2023 ready to tell messages more that girls are more than just that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
So a lot of times I'm watching things to research things, to be like, okay, we're going to do this better. We're going to watch this and take, and be like, how can we have better messaging? Like Switched is about friendships. It's the boys are the lampshade.
It's true. It's actually, yes, I agree.
All about the girls' relationships with each other, all of them.
Love
and
it.
the guys are just kind of like
Yeah, I appreciated that too. Cause like I was like, there's not a lot of just drama for like, oh my goodness, does he like me? It's like, hey, like, are you my friend? Like the friendship, like you said, like that's being built. And like that's what we need to see. Like it's easy for us, forget to get caught up in emotions and situations. And it's like it's all about just being that person to give and to serve one another and just like see each other and just like be open about things. And that is like what we need to see on the screen. So I really appreciated that in Switch that you, like you said, like had those female friendships highlighted.
Well, friendships. And I'm 43, so I've been around a little while. And this, I just feel like I'm so sick of entertainment pinning women up against each other, pinning young girls up against each other. And if you do it, it means there has to be a resolution. Like Switched, we do it, but gets resolved. And I just want to create more things like Catching Faith has a women's Bible study, and the women are supporting each other. And I'm like, and I want to teach young girls girls at a young age to support one another, so they will grow up and not feel pinned up against each other, that we can be each other's biggest champion, help each other. But there is a lot of competition between women. And I think some of it's the entertainment that has been put, does that unconscious bias that men write things like that. Like I did a movie called At Your Own Risk about two girls who get a job. They're PR and they get hired to test out a geocaching game deep in the New Mexico desert. And they go on this adventure, these two girls. And we really tried to flip the script of what a normal movie would have had the girls do. We do everything opposite. We actually show how girls would rally together if they're in the desert and going to die. We never take our clothes off. We never forget to put our clothes off. We don't run around naked. You know what I mean? Like all the things that normally would be the tropes. We were like, let's create something that we see from the female gaze, because everything I'm doing is from the female gaze. And that's the problem. A lot of things come from the male gaze when they're trying to talk about women, and that's the problem. So, yeah. And then in Identity Crisis, the one that Sherry Rigby directed that's coming out this year, our new teen girl movie, because it was college, we'd already done the sort of mean girl thing was Switched. So in that movie, we really wanted the girls to be really supportive of each other, because the conflict, Identity Crisis, about a shy science whiz in college who struggles with imposter syndrome and having no confidence. And she figures out how to clone herself and to create the perfect identity and send her off to do all the things she's afraid of. And in the process, learning that God already created her the perfect version of herself, and all she had to do was try. She had the courage. And so the conflict is actually all between the girl and the clone, which is the girl and herself. And then everyone else around her, supportive and loving her and trying to help her. And that was fun to do a movie where there was no conflict with the girls. The only conflict is with yourself, which is also a great message.
Do have inner conflict for sure. We get hard on ourselves, I think, so much. Just by our looks, by our interaction, oh, I should have done better or whatever. But it's not about your presentation of yourself. I think it's more about your heart. What's your heart? What is God putting into your heart, and what are you putting into your life that's really inspiring you to just glorify him in everything that you do. So that's really cool.
I always feel like I'm my hardest critic. I tell my friends, I'm like, you need to tell me to give myself more grace.
There we go. Yeah.
Because I won't give myself any grace. I'll be like, girl, you messed that up. You messed that up and you know it. And somebody like Brooklyn, she'll be like, Megan, it's okay. It's okay. Don't worry about it. I'm like, no, I messed it up.
Yeah.
But
that's okay, because messing up is good, because you learn from it. And that's what the movie's so trying to teach young girls, that there is no such thing as failure. Just try. And we worked with Grand Canyon University on that film. Wow. And the dean read the script, and he came to Andrea and I, and he said, I've been in academics for 40 years. And I am so glad you're addressing this problem for young girls, because girls come to college and they don't raise their hand unless they're 100% right. They can't, they want to be 100% right. But the guys, they might be 1% right, and they raise their hand, and the men will further themselves more than the girls, because the girls will hold them back because they want to be perfect and have it right. And we wanted to address just try and fail, get back up, don't,
so don't overthink it. Really.
Don't overthink it. And there is no thing as failure. It's just a stepping stone to learning and the next thing. So I'm excited. We've done we've showed that movie at some colleges, and so many of the girls are like, because our demographic is more 8 to 14-year-old girls, but it was really cool to see the college girls go, I wish I had this when I was 10, because this could help my mentality when I get to college and remind myself that I am fearfully and wonderfully made.
Yeah, that's incredible. So good. Yeah.
Now, you've touched on this a lot, but how can we as believers just continue to spread this message and culture that is positive and uplifting? You are doing such a great job of spreading just a positive and uplifting message. So how can we and people listening take this message and spread it as well?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Well, first off, I think we should be kind to everyone, our neighbor, every person we encounter at the grocery store. We've gotten to be such a social media world that I'm like, do you even say hi to your neighbor? Do you, make sure that you're kind to every single person you encounter? And as I want everyone to see Jesus in me. So even if they never knew that I was a Christian, I just went to a film festival last week where I was one of the speakers, and I just want to make sure that everybody I touch, everyone I talk to, everyone I shake their hand, that they feel loved and seen. They might not know I'm a believer. They'll find out when they go look me up, because I'm pretty out there with my movies. But I feel like it's just like we should be kind to every single person we encounter. And I think something that's been bothering me in our society lately is how many people spread negativity on social media. And they find something that riles them up and they repost it. And I'm like, what is that doing for us? Nothing. Why don't we just start spreading only good stories, only good things? I always say, like, we could all get along if we just turn the news off and turn the social media off. We'd find out that we're all getting along. All the issues are really just, I feel like, becoming made up on social media and creating a divide between people, and it's not doing anything good. So I try to only use my social media for good. I don't put anything political up there. I don't put anything that would even draw some sort of argument, because I don't see the point of that. And if somebody writes on my page something that's negative or horrible, I delete it. I'm like, that's not welcome. On Facebook, if somebody says something rude in a comment, I delete it. I'm like, I'm not interested in that. And I think that just the everyday being kind to every single person you meet. And I went for a walk in the pandemic. I live by a little walking trail that I walk, and I was walking during the pandemic, and this older gentleman, very old, he must have been like 90, he was taking a walk, and people were running away from him because they were like, we don't want to give him COVID. And he stopped to talk to me, and I didn't run away from him. And I started talking to him. We had this beautiful conversation, and he said, do you know, you're the first person I've really talked to in months. And I was like, that man needed connection. He needed to talk to somebody. Yeah. I feel like we don't take the time to stop and take a moment to talk to people. And if they want to talk, let them talk to you. That's just those little things. And, he's 90, he's at the end of his life. He needs community. He needed and everyone else was running away to save his life, but really not to save his life, because he needed to talk to somebody.
Yeah. And I like that you addressed it in that way, because like you said, like, everyone's looking for someone to even care about them, and like, I know, like, we all have something in our lives that we are, we need that encouragement. And even like you said, going to the grocery store, being kind to the people that are working, because they have jobs that can be really hard just by interacting with all kinds of personalities, and we all have our own thing. But I love that you said to be kind, that's really special.
And don't just put it on social media, really be kind.
Yeah, live it out.
Exactly. Like, if you really care, be kind to every single person you see. And I used to be a waitress. I worked in service for a long time. So anytime I see people being rude to a waiter, I'm like, no, don't do it. Hard job, and service jobs are really hard, and people get so even at the airport, every time, even if I'm I've really been working on that mentality of, even if I'm frazzled, my problem is not anybody else's problem. I hate when people make their problem someone else's problem. So even if I'm running late or something's not going good, like I get the airport, I'm always like checking myself that to be kind to the person, even if it's not their fault, that my flight's delayed or something's happening, and that, that's my problem I have to deal with. with and be kind to the person who's helping me, not, yell at them or something. And I really don't like when people make their problems someone else's. And we tend to do that a lot in society of like, I'm running late, therefore it's your fault. No, it's not you're late. It's my fault.
Yeah, exactly. We get it's our emotions just want to go crazy, but it's like, okay, like you said, like, okay, hold on, like that wasn't their problem. Yeah. And I take those breaths, maybe even, and I definitely pray about that too, because I'm like, hey, this, like you said, like you got to have like the focus of, okay, God, like you work through this. I don't know what's going on. It's crazy, but hey, things are gonna work out okay in the end.
That's right.
Yeah. And then, so we have another question for you. What would you tell your younger self or an inspiring career woman wanting to pursue a career in the creative arts?
What would I tell myself or an aspiring creative? I always say, I wish I could have told myself, I moved to LA at 19 in 1999 to pursue acting. And I wish I had told myself to take charge of my career, to not wait for someone to pick me, to pick myself, I'm always not wanting to don't do the same thing over and over, expecting different results, because it will make you crazy, because I went crazy, and pivot, find new ways. Once I moved into writing and producing, I found out I loved it way better than acting. And acting was the love of my life. And I really wanted to be an actor. But after 10 years of pounding the pavement, I just couldn't work or get an agent. And then I pivoted and started writing and producing, really to give myself an acting role. And then I found out how much I loved it. And I was like, oh man, I wish I could go back to my 19-year-old self and say, start being open to doing anything in the film industry. It isn't just about one thing. And now you can be a hybrid. When I first started out, you could only like be one thing. But now you can be like, I script supervise sometimes, and sometimes I work in the wardrobe, and sometimes like you can do all different things. So if I could tell myself, it'd be create your own stuff. Don't just sit around waiting for someone to pick you. I wish that I had not spent 10 years like that. And, surround yourself with the best people. Surround yourself with people who are smarter than you and better than you. Don't be competitive, be collaborative. Because I think they're in this industry, especially in the film industry, it's very competitive. But if you can turn that into collaboration, and you can, instead of looking at someone going, oh, they have that, why don't I have that? Go, oh, what can I learn from them? How can I learn? And I reach out to people all the time, especially at the beginning of my career as producer, calling friends who were doing well and saying, could I learn from you? And any advice you have, and I admire your work. And flipping that script in your brain is really important, because in this industry, competitiveness will crush you and your soul. So you need to look at it more like, how can I learn from that person? Maybe I could join their team, because success rises in groups. So you want to hang out with the most successful people. You know what I mean? So
yeah, like
you want to go with them.
Yeah. And you want to be involved in something that's excellent. Like, I think we need to just be like, if we want to see something that for ourselves in the culture, we need to be involved in that, what we want to see for ourselves. And so that's something for me. Like I like to just like look at people's work and be like, oh, I appreciate that. I want to support that, and that's being part of the team just by supporting and speaking out on your socials. I think people even forget, like, if you're not in the entertainment industry, that's fine. You have a voice in it, because you get to tell us what you're looking for, and we get to create those kind of creative things, and we just want to hear what people are looking for, but we also want to speak into something in the most positive way, in the most inspiring and encouraging way. So it's a team effort. It really is. It's not just us, it's everyone's involved. So that's really cool. Like, awesome.
And to riff off that, offer more than you ask for. People, especially in this business or in general, are always asking for something. Be the kind of person who offers. So I try to offer as much as I ask for, because that can be exhausting too. And people only want something. So, or if you can do a trade with somebody or offer, like I'm constantly offering people, can I help you? What do you need? And that spirit goes a long way, especially in the film industry, when people remember that, oh, you helped me, now I can help you. But if it's always about what can I get, what can I get, that will burn people out and not want to work with you. And I feel like one of the reasons I've made 8 feature films in 10 years is because my spirit has always been, what can I do for you? And how can I take care of you? And I work with the same team I've been working with for 10 years because I take care of the people who were there for me when I had nothing and they helped me. I am now trying to help them always. So that's really important, I think.
Yeah, I love that for sure. Yeah.
Well, this has been so fun. I'm so glad that we got to just hear your heart behind everything that you do and just empowering the next generation and hopefully even the generation before too, just to create positive content.
Create positive content. We need it. So do it and then rally around each other to keep doing it. And we really, and I love what you said, Brooklyn, about excellence. We have to strive to be excellent. Unfortunately, faith-based films have had a bad connotation of cheesy or low budget. And it's like, that's something I'm striving to do things that are not cheesy. It's hard to do a movie about a relationship with God. He's not in the room. You know what I mean? Like you're not talking to him. He's not talking back. So I see how that can be cheesy because you're trying to portray a relationship with a supernatural being on camera, which is really hard. But I think just like in anything you do, excellence, 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 so that we can continue to make like what the Erwin brothers are doing. I feel like their movies are excellent. And I'm always looking to them going, I want to be like the Erwin brothers. They do it so well. And we need more people in the faith space creating faith content of excellent caliber.
Yes. Yeah. For sure.
Right?
So good. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's so good. Well, again, thank you so much for just spending the time today and talking with us. Do you have any upcoming projects, anything that you would like to share that people can check out, tune in,
and your socials.
And your socials, yes.
Socials, yes. Well, check out my book on Amazon, Create Your Own Career in Hollywood. It also has a lot of great life lessons. It really spans from like when I started my first feature film all the way to my 6th feature film. And it goes through a lot of the stuff. It was even both emotionally filmmaking. It's got some good nuggets in it. It's actually kind of my love letter to my young 19-year-old self. Would be like, I wish I knew this then. So I'm going to write this down for other people. All my films are available on Amazon, iTunes, PureFlix. We have Catching Faith 1 and 2, Wish for Christmas, The Greatest Inheritance, Switched. Switched is now on Tubi, which is a free streaming platform. Also, my film At Your Own Risk that I made is also on Tubi. And that's not faith-based, but it's clean. It's also on PureFlix. And then you can follow me, Alexandra Boylan, on Facebook, Instagram. I don't do Twitter. Haven't been on Twitter in years. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't want to waste my precious life there. I try to stay away from anything that I see a lot of arguing or ridiculousness. That's how I protect my brain. I don't go on to that stuff. Then we have the BoylanSisters.com. All of our films come with companion materials. So we have youth group studies, Bible studies. We have high school curriculums for Switch. So schools can show the movie and do a whole thing of what does it look like to lead with love. And then Identity Crisis is coming out this year. And like I said in my bio, Andrea and I are actually writing a YA novel that goes along with the movie. And we're going to start doing that for all of our films, because not only do we see entertainment in the film space and TV bad, novels, they aren't getting good, clean novels for young girls. So we're going to start writing novels. So we're busy.
Yes, you are. Oh, well, we love it. So everybody will have to go check all of these things out.
Please do.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being on. We appreciate having you.
Yeah, thank you.